Let's get going.
Awesome. All right. Thank you all. Please continue to share who you are, where you're coming from in the chat. We're very excited to meet you all and have you with us today. We're going to go ahead and jump ahead here. You should be seeing my title slide, hopefully. We are very excited to get started with our conversation on belonging and agency today, where we really are going to take some time to talk about how connection can really help unlock student potential. So, my name is Megan. I will be your host today alongside some of my wonderful colleagues from Gradient Learning and EALA, who will have the chance to introduce themselves in just a moment. But we wanted to share that we're working together today really because we share a very simple but hopefully powerful goal of making sure that every student feels seen, supported, and empowered to learn. So we really both believe that belonging isn't just this nice to have feeling, but it truly is the foundation of agency and academic growth. And so the purpose of our session today really is to highlight some different stories and strategies from schools truly across the nation, which hopefully is pretty representative of the folks that we have in the room today, and talk really about how they're bringing this idea of agency and connection to life in their own schools and classrooms. So with that, hopefully you'll notice as well that we will be posting some polls and some different questions in the chat because we really want this to be an interactive session. While we are up here speaking, we know that there is so much value and expertise in all of you today. So please do share all of your thoughts as we move along throughout our session today. So thank you in advance for hopping in and sharing. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and give us a chance to just quickly introduce ourselves. I'll go ahead and pass it to my colleague Holly to start us off.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Holly Wright, and I am the whole student lead at Gradient Learning. I have been working as an educator for 23 years. I was a teacher and then a school administrator working on the student support side and also the instructional and academic support side. So I am excited to join you all today and talk more about agency and belonging and the importance that both of those qualities have in our schools for our students.
Thanks, Holly. And Reem.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Reem Cook, and I am a leader coach at Gradient. That means that I support and coach the school leaders on campuses. And this is my 18th year in education. I started out teaching high school biology, and then I went into school leadership and ended out as a principal for a 6 through 12 campus in Houston, Texas, before I moved back to North Carolina to join Gradient. And I am also excited to be here just talking about two of the things that I am most passionate about, which is belonging and agency.
Thank you, Reem. And Aurora.
Hey, welcome everybody. Great to see again some familiar faces, some familiar names in the chat. My name is Aurora Dreger. I am born, bred, and based in Brooklyn, New York. I'm the EALA project director. EALA is a project of Innovate EDU. And at EALA, we are all about supporting students with disabilities and students who learn differently. Super excited to be here facilitating this conversation along with Megan and Holly and Reem. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And once again, my name is Megan Quinn. I am your host for today, and I am coming from San Francisco, California, part of the Gradient Learning team, currently a partnerships lead. I'm at Gradient Learning and formerly both a teacher and school leader out in the San Francisco Bay Area. So excited to be with you all. So with that, we are going to go ahead and hop into our agenda for today. We do have a packed hour for our time together. So we're going to start just with some general kickoff and connection. You can get to know us, we can get to know you. So as folks are still joining, please do make sure you're popping in the chat who you are, where you're coming from, so we can hear from you. Then we will move into really why we're talking about this topic right now, why belonging and agency are some of the most important things in our classrooms at this moment in time. We'll share some specific stories and strategies about how you can bring this into action, think about how it can be scaled school-wide level, classroom level, and then really start to think about how you can commit to bringing some of these ideas into your classrooms and schools moving forward. And we'll close out just with some key resources and partnership information from both Gradient and EALA, and then have some time for Q&A if there's anything that comes up along the way. But please do also feel free to make use of that chat as your questions are coming to you. So with that, going to go ahead and move us along to just quick intros of our organizations with us today. So Aurora, go ahead.
Thanks, Megan. As I mentioned before, EALA, the Educating All Learners Alliance, or EALA for short, we are an organization dedicated to supporting students, disabilities, students who learn differently, anybody with a barrier to their learning. We are a coalition of over 170 organizations, mostly nonprofits and schools, districts, all working together to focus on resource sharing and community building. So whether it's the hundreds of free and open access materials in our resource library, or events just like this that are bringing conversations with experts and educators to the forefront, we are here to try to address and support the needs of educators, as well as parents, leaders, anybody in the realm of education. And we affectionately call this network of networks the EALA-verse, the EALA universe. So welcome to the EALA-verse if it's your first time, and hope to see you again soon at many more presentations and webinars. So Megan, tell us a little bit about Gradient.
I would love to. So Gradient Learning, very similarly, is very committed to supporting the whole child and ensuring that schools and educators have what they need to support the whole student. So what you see here is a dual program where we have both a whole student platform that is supported very strategically by implementation supports. So our whole student platform consists of high quality instructional materials, so your key curricula, combined with student connection tools and whole student resources that are all visualized in a whole student data dashboard on top of instructional technologies and resources to make everything very user-friendly and easy to use for both the educator, leader, and student perspective. And then all of this is supported by our direct one-to-one coaching and professional development supports. So we'll have the opportunity to talk a lot more about this later on, but wanted to share some of the key features that Gradient Learning provides that is completely grant funded. So with that, going to go ahead and pop us into our next section here to think about really the reason why we are all here and why belonging and agency truly are one of the most important topics for our time right now. So hopping on in, my clicking is taking a second here. Apologies for that. But here we have some fun or not so fun data that really helps us understand why this is such an important topic for us to be focusing on right now. So when we look at the data on this slide, it is very clear that today's students are facing some of the toughest conditions that we've ever seen, even beyond the pandemic levels, unfortunately. So here you can see at the start of the school year of last school year, 24-25, we have 40% of students who are behind grade level in at least one academic subject. And we have our 12th grade reading and math scores at the lowest they have ever been recorded. Now, right next to that, we see that, of course, academics is only part of the story. So 4 in 10 high school students are reporting that they're feeling persistent sadness or hopelessness. And that's combined with chronic absenteeism that is higher than it was before the pandemic. Then at the same time, we know that our students are stepping into a world that is ever changing with more technologies and AI, and that is causing our students to feel even less prepared for the real world than they were before. So we have over 70% of recent high school graduates stating that they're leaving the classroom feeling like they are not prepared for whatever is next. So what can we do about that? What does the research tell us we can do? So research shows that when students experience a sense of belonging in their classrooms, they are 3 times more likely to be engaged, which then corresponds to those improved academic performance outcomes, stronger attendance, increased motivation, and just overall higher rates of well-being. So, like I said at the beginning of the session, we know that belonging really isn't just this nice to have. It truly is a critical part of learning. So with that, we want to hop into some real world practices and stories, but we first want to get the chance to just hear from you all. So would love to have you drop in the chat. What does belonging at school mean to you? And you can feel free to finish that sentence that we have here. Belonging at school means blank, and go ahead and pop your word in the chat.
All right,
Having-
thanks for getting it going. Having a community, that's fantastic. Thank you, Truth. Anybody else? Let's drop some words in here. Words or phrases. What does it mean? What does belonging at school mean to you?
All right, we'll give folks another second here.
Feeling welcomed. Fantastic. Thank you. Safe to be myself. Love that. Belonging at school means that students know they are seen, heard, and valued members of the school community. Really well put. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Christina, Truth, Holly.
Awesome. All right. Well, definitely feel free, continue to drop that in the chat. We are going to give our panelists the opportunity to build off of this. And we're going to go ahead and start with our first round of questioning. So would love to hear from both Reem and Holly. Let's see, let's get this moving. It's moving on one end and not the other. Here we go. How do you define belonging and agency? And how do belonging and agency support student outcomes? I'll pass it to you all.
Thanks, Megan, and thanks everybody for your responses so far. I can start with talking about belonging. For me, when I think about belonging, it's not just about feeling good or fitting in. It's about being part of something bigger. It's a sense that you matter, just like Truth said. It's a sense that you matter in your community, that you're seen, that you're heard, that you're appreciated, and then also like Christina said, and that you're welcomed. It's not just like a personal feeling. Real belonging also comes from helping others feel that sense of connection and purpose. And so when students understand that belonging actually goes both ways, it's about like giving as much as receiving, the classroom truly can transform. They start looking to one another, they start building bridges, creating spaces where everyone feels included and safe. And that in itself just exponentially grows what is possible in a classroom.
I think that the impact of belonging on agency and the intersection between the two is really powerful. And when I think about agency, I think about students having the ability and the confidence because of the environment that they're in to make choices and take action for themselves, but also to make those choices with others and even the world around them in mind. So not thinking about being isolated, but really thinking about how are the decisions and the choices that I have and that I make not only advancing things that I need, but how are they also building for other people around me? So it's more than just having independence or being an advocate for yourself. It's really about students understanding that their decisions matter and that they have the power to shape outcomes because of the choices that they make. So when students have a sense of agency, they are active drivers in their learning. So they're not just doing what other people tell them to do, they're thinking critically, they're making choices, and they're taking responsibility for the progress that they make. And that kind of ownership helps students to feel stronger motivation, as you alluded to earlier, Megan, helps them to feel deeper engagement, and it really gives them a sense of purpose in the learning environment. And these skills are essential not only for inside the classroom, but also help them to build beyond the classroom, which is what we're all focused on, right? Not just thinking about the right now, but the kind of people that we're helping produce to go out into the world.
Amazing. Thank you both. So I'm wondering if you each could build on what you just shared and talk a bit about an example where either belonging or agency you feel really transformed a school or classroom.
Yeah, I can start with this one and share about a specific kiddo who was transformed, and then it's like the classroom transformed him and then he was able to like transform the classroom. So it was a mutualistic example, if you will. So there's a student named Jordan. That's who we're going to talk about, who was seriously disengaged for most of the semester. This is back when I was in Houston. He'd come to class, sit in the back, do like just enough to get by. And you could tell that he didn't really see himself as like part of the bigger group in the room, not necessarily with the class. One day we started a project where they had to design like real world solutions in the school community specifically. And during brainstorming, a few of the kiddos started talking about how it's like the school has recycling bins, but they were never being used. And Jordan had mumbled something like, well, yeah, they're in the wrong place and they're hard to find. And that mumble could have easily gone past and like people could have ignored it and gone about their day. But instead of ignoring him, one of the students was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? And so Jordan was like, well, they're over here when they should be over here, and then people can see them more, like kind of was starting to elaborate. And so that simple invitation from the other kiddo of like, wait, that's a good point. What do you mean? Changed everything. Jordan ended up like sketching a new layout for the bins, helped the group present their plan to the principal at the time. And then for the first time, he wasn't just completing an assignment to be completing an assignment and checking a box. He was like contributing and felt that contribution to something real, something the group valued. And then you could see the confidence grow every day. So by the end of the project, he's like one of the first to volunteer to present. And when I asked him, like, hey, I sensed a shift in this moment, I asked him why. He was like, you know what? I think they listened to my idea. And so that feeling of value was definitely there. And that's what's powerful about belonging. I didn't have to like pull him aside, give him a pep talk. We didn't have to do any of those things. It happened naturally by way of a solid culture in the classroom that brought about his voice.
Yeah, I have a similar story just about teachers doing work to model the type of behavior that they expect from students and building a belief that the classroom is a place where everyone has a voice. When I was an instructional leader, I did a lot of observations in classrooms, and I went to observe a classroom and was coming in when there was sort of like a little part of independent practice, but students were working in pairs. So I kind of cozied up next to a pair of students to listen in, to hear what they were having a conversation about. And you could tell that one of the students was immediately uncomfortable that I was listening over his shoulder. And the other student that was working with him said, just go on, use your strategies. You know what to do. And what really kind of took me back was that the student that said that felt like she was just as much of a teacher as the teacher in the room. And I think when we really think about an environment that promotes agency and belonging, we see students that don't think that the teacher is the expert and that they're there to just be the recipient. They really feel like they're also teachers and that there is this mutual interaction going on. Like we're all here to both learn and teach together. And that has a really, really powerful impact on the learning experience, I would say, for both the teacher and for the students that are in that classroom.
Awesome. Thank you both. So I would love to pass it back to the audience, actually. And after hearing both of those very inspiring stories, what is, in one word, how would you want your students to feel when they walk into your school or classroom? What is that one word that comes to mind? And maybe it's a word that you already thought of, or maybe it's something that was inspired by one of the stories we just heard. So go ahead, pop it in the chat. Believed in. Thank you, Caroline. Go ahead, Aurora.
No, beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, thanks, folks. In one word, how do you want students to feel when they walk into your school or classroom? Believed in? Great. Thanks for kicking it off, Caroline. Let's hear from a few more. Oh, it's okay. That was 2 words. I'm wondering, is there a synonym? Is there a way to put that in one word? But yeah, let us know, folks, other ways. How do you want your students to feel when they walk into your classroom? Or school for my school leaders. Respected. Thank you, Truth. Give folks about 5 more seconds to get their last few answers in. All right, well, thank you. Definitely keep those responses coming. We want to hear from you. And let's hear what do we got next, Megan? What's next questions?
Yeah, so hopefully, honestly, we'll continue to make some connections to some of those, the different ways we really want our students to feel in our schools, in our classrooms, as we give Reem and Holly to talk about this dual-sided question here. We'll start with the first question, though. We'll focus just on what are some practical strategies that educators can use to foster a stronger sense of belonging and/or agency.
It's a great question. I can kick us off from the leader perspective. I would say that one of the most practical things that I could do is to make sure teachers have access to high quality curriculum and high quality resources that are aligned with the holistic development that you're looking for in terms of that belonging and agency. So like not just academics, but the social, emotional, identity-based parts of learning. Because when teachers aren't scrambling to piece things together and they have the curriculum, they can just focus on the why and how they teach versus the what. And so it's also about building systems and routines that reflect that belonging and agency. It's got to be habitual. For example, giving teachers voice and choice in professional learning or creating time in the schedule for student reflection and collaboration can really help get those systems in there. When the structures around students and teachers honor agency and belonging, they both also feel empowered to do the same.
Something that comes to mind for me when I think about practical strategies, I think about my visits to the grocery store when I have a lot on my mind. I have a list of things that I maybe forgot to get earlier. And I also am thinking about somebody that I need to pick up from school. And I'm also thinking about an errand that I forgot to run. And I'm also thinking about a work thing that I need to take care of. And in those moments, oftentimes when I go through the checkout line, I don't even acknowledge the other person that's behind the counter checking me out, right? And it makes me really think about that as a teacher. Space, mental space, and clarity have a huge impact on your ability to see your students. And when we talk about promoting agency and belonging, it really takes a teacher being curious to see and desire to understand a student. And when we are really stressed or overwhelmed, it's impossible for us to exercise curiosity. So one of the strategies that I think as a teacher that's been really profound is thinking about ways that I can reduce or manage my own stress. So whether it's using a curated curricula that helps me feel more confident in the materials that I'm using and I'm not having to try to make up my lesson for the next day, or taking a few minutes before students come into my class to jot down a list of things that are on my mind so I can clear my head in order to really be focused on the students that are walking into the room. Let's really promote this idea of having space and mental capability to be intentional about not only the experiences we design for students, but the way that we see and seek to understand our students.
Thank you, Holly and Reem. So I don't know about anyone else, but I wish that I was actually taking some notes. I can go back and rewatch this recording, but hopefully that was helpful just to hear some of those really practical and actionable strategies that we could hopefully start using tomorrow and even potentially when we're in the grocery store, Holly. So now I want to jump us to the second part of the question here. So thinking about all of the different ways that we can potentially leverage tools and platforms to really elevate and amplify student voice and connection, knowing that we really are living in this world where, the technologies are growing by the minute, truthfully. So would love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, I think that this is a really exciting and ripe time to think about the way that technology can help teachers and leaders see their students. And I think that we've kind of scratched the surface around some of the academic pieces related to technology, but not just in terms of academic performance, but really understanding students as whole people. When technology is used well, it can give us real-time, meaningful data about the way students are engaging, right? If they're actually getting into materials and accessing things, where they're thriving, we can see where students are maybe responding with more robust answers, or where they're kind of finding themselves naturally going or looking for information, and also where and which students might need more support. And that data, when it is timely and really in high volumes, this allows teachers to personalize learning in ways that can build connection for students. So we really think about how we can differentiate the experience because of data that we're able to have. And when I think about looking at data or having students responding and giving feedback, it's not really about tracking or labeling the students. It's really about me as the teacher being able to understand students in real time and see patterns around the way that they learn, the types of learning that it engages them most. And then I can act quickly and make adjustments to my instruction in order to invite them to be a part of the learning experience.
Yeah, Holly, that's huge. I would say from the leader perspective, to set up teachers to be able to do that with kiddos, tech can also make access to support resources and to feedback so much easier. And so that they can create the equitable conditions for the agency and belonging that they want to see with the teachers and the kiddos. And when teachers are quickly accessing the curriculum or examples of strong practice or professional learning communities online, they don't feel as isolated in their work. And then that access also frees up cognitive space where they can then focus more on students and less on logistics. And in terms of feedback, both for students and for teachers, because they've got that one central place where they're inputting, their data, their work, they can just quickly go to that one place where the feedback becomes more timely and actionable instead of waiting days or weeks because it's just there in front of them. And that immediacy really makes a difference for kiddos when they see that the work that they're doing is looked at. I mean, I wouldn't say within the same minute, right? Teachers are busy, but sooner rather than later, which then helps the student feel heard, more valued over time as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. And you both are making me think of so many connections that we have to our program that I'm really excited to chat more about later on. But right now, I do want to hear again from the audience, since I know we do have so much expertise behind the screen right now. What's one strategy that you already use to really make students feel valued? And maybe it's something that already was mentioned by either Reem or Holly, or maybe it's something that they didn't even think of yet. So go ahead, drop it in the chat. Ready to learn from you all. And as you're thinking, if nothing is coming to mind, feel free to drop in the chat something that is standing out to you that you're excited to try based on what Reem and Holly just shared. All right, we might give folks some think time on this one, but feel free to continue to drop in the chat as things come to your mind. We really do want to make sure that this is a collective space where we all can learn from each other. So as you think of things, feel free to go ahead and drop it in for us. But for now, we'll go ahead and move on. We want to talk about some of the ways that we can scale some of the systems that we know truly work, because it's great when we ourselves can identify things that are working well, but it really makes that impact once we have the opportunity to share that with others and find ways to really replicate these strong strategies and systems. So before we do that, my cursor, goodness. Before we do that, I want to drop a quick poll for us all so we can have just a moment to kind of reflect on where we currently are identifying our biggest barrier to amplifying belonging and student voice. So you should see your poll pop up and you can select time, training, competing academic needs, student readiness. I'm sure there's many others. We could have kept this list going. What's standing out to you most?
And while folks are putting their answers in, and before we show the results of the poll, which I think that we will be able to in a moment, share the results with the room. Got a couple of quick hits here in the chat that are really interesting. Truth says one strategy that they're using is to mention something special about the students. Show that you know something about them outside the classroom. That's, I mean, incredible and such a key piece of building a relationship. And Caroline Martin shares that although she's not currently in the classroom, the use of AI from school leaders, they're using that to adapt the curriculum so that it connects to personal interests. Ooh, I love this. Both answers kind of connecting back to that personal interest, knowing something about the students, both in and out of the classroom. So thank you for that. Okay, I think that if we want to give it a shot, let's see if my colleague Francis on the Innovate EDU team, if you're able to share results. All right, thank you. Megan, I'll let you kind of voice this over a bit.
Yeah, thank you. So what I am seeing on my end, and I apologize, I don't believe that it is screen sharing on everyone's end. So I will just quickly voice over it. So we see right now, large majority of folks are identifying time simply as the biggest barrier to amplifying belonging and student voice, which makes complete sense, just knowing the capacity that we are at in the educator space right now. And so we're definitely excited to talk a bit more about how we can address this and how we can think about some of those efficient ways that we can really maximize our time. So this feels like something that truly is manageable and also just a priority, so that we do have one response here about just the challenge of competing academic needs. But like I was saying, making it a priority so that you feel like you can truly address both. So thank you so much for answering our poll there. Let's go ahead and now pass it to our panelists. Here we go. To chat just a bit more about how you think that school leaders and educators really can create this structure and the supports for a culture of belonging and agency.
How much time do we have? I'm just kidding. When I think about this question, the main thing that comes to mind for me, especially with school leaders, especially considering what y'all put as the barriers, being like time and competing priorities, really starts with a solid vision on the school leaders' end. I feel like there are always going to be competing priorities, and there are always going to be so many things to do that you don't have enough time to do all of them for. But if you have a really solid vision, you make it clear what's most important to you and your school community, it makes it easier to make decisions over time. It makes it easier to say, actually, right now, we're not going to do this because it doesn't fit this vision and it doesn't meet the need that we have for our kiddos. And so leaders have to make it clear that things like belonging and agency aren't add-ons. They're the foundation of what great learning actually looks like. And so the vision has to show up in everything, right? In the way you design professional development, in the way that you choose curriculum, in the way that you measure success. And so one of the most powerful things the leader can do is make sure that the professional learning, the curriculum are aligned to that vision and those values. And if you're using high quality instructional materials that you've chosen because they align, that already invite like student voice, student reflection, student choice, it's much easier to make belonging and agency just like a part of the day to day rather than something extra you have to add on.
I love that, Reem, because it's a waterfall, right? There's like this cascade effect because the vision and values that a leader shares and prioritizes with teachers, then that has an impact on the way that the classroom feels for students. And if teachers are feeling empowered and supported to translate that vision into their classrooms, then we know that students are going to feel that same shift. So when we really think about building a culture within the classroom, not just a moment in a lesson, then we are freeing up time for adults, because you can see that students, just like we gave some examples earlier, in an environment like this, students start to look out for one another. Students celebrate each other's success. Students respond to one another's challenges, and they start to understand that their learning isn't just about them, it's with each other and for each other. And this creates a lot of freedom for the adult in the room, because the one adult is not the person responsible for every single student. Students feel an equal level of responsibility for one another and for themselves. So when, leaders and teachers create structures that focus on these kind of human moments, it frees up students to focus on their learning, and then we can give them the tools and the trust that they need so that the classroom can become a place where students aren't just participants in learning, they're actually owners of their learning.
I love that, Holly. So I wonder if we can move into this next question, because I'm curious how you might then think about how success actually looks if every student feels like they belong and they have agency in school. So it sounds like we touched on it a little bit almost, but would love to have both of you expand.
Yes. Gosh, this is the dream, right? And we wish that more classrooms and more schools that we walked into prioritized belonging and agency, because when you go into a building or a room where students feel like they belong and they have agency, there's a buzz. And you can sense that students are not there to just follow directions or be compliant. They're actually there to drive their own learning, and their voice matters. And when we see classrooms or schools that embody this, students are, they're taking charge, right? They're asking questions, they're thinking critically, they're making choices, they feel empowered to take ownership of the learning space, and the school is just as much theirs as it is a part of what the adults contribute. So we can really see that learning and the culture of environments like that are shared experiences. Students are supporting each other, and when things are hard, students don't shut down in these environments, right? We really see that students can lean in because they know that they're a part of something bigger, and they trust that the people around them are there to support them. And that's what belonging does. It creates a foundation for students to take risks and to try again because they know that failing is a part of their growth and a really important aspect of their growth.
The only addition I would make to that, Holly, is the reason that the students would feel that way is not magic, right? It's because the teacher has instilled it in them, because the teacher and the leaders feel that way on campus too. Like the adults feel connected to a shared purpose in the building. They see their role not just as like managing compliance, but as nurturing curiosity, confidence in the kiddos. And so you feel a huge culture shift. Schools become a place of partnership. Students and teachers are like learning from one another. Leaders are listening to both. There's like reflection, innovation, and I mean, honestly, you can feel the joy increase in a campus. And so I was looking back in the chat to see what folks wrote about this because, like, students walking out of a school at the end of the day knowing they matter, I think a lot of y'all touched on when you said the words. They feel respected, they feel believed in, they feel brave. Those are all big parts of what would be true for every student, that empowers young people to shape their own futures.
Awesome. Thank you both. I feel like I now have this perfect vision of both walking into a school site and being also able to enter a classroom with this idea of what success looks like on both ends of the spectrum. So thank you for hitting on both of those. I am sure that many folks are now like, great, how do I do this? What can I do? So we've hit on a lot of really big picture aspects that are all incredibly important and really core pieces of building a strong foundation. But I know for me, I definitely want to be able to apply things as quickly as possible and really put things into action. So I want to switch gears to thinking about some potential quick wins that we might have. So thinking about what is one step that educators can take tomorrow, ideally. What is tomorrow? Wednesday. On Wednesday, to elevate belonging and agency in their school and classroom. So would love to hear.
Yes, so we have a great takeaway resource that I think is going to be shared in the chat and shared with participants. This has some great language just to help you remember what agency and belonging really mean and what they look like in a classroom or in a school, and also some helpful instructional strategies that promote agency and belonging. But if I were to start tomorrow and walk into class on October 8th, where things are dragging a little bit in October, right? The newness of the school year might be wearing down a little bit. I would start with something simple but powerful, and that would be a student check-in. So just a moment to connect with one, maybe two, three, four students, or if you have the use of technology, maybe doing a quick check-in with all of your students and just asking a short prompt, like, what is something that you're proud of from this week? Or what is something that today you could use some support with? What's a challenge that you fought through and you feel really excited to share? You could do that with sticky notes or on a Jamboard or with a Google form. The format doesn't matter. It's really about hearing the students' responses and then taking a few minutes to acknowledge what was shared. When students see that their words are heard and then they're acted on, then trust grows, right? So that nurtures that relationship. And that's really creating a sense of belonging and action. So when they can reflect on what they need, what's working for them, and then also maybe recognize that other people might have the same needs that they're in a community with, that's also agency beginning to take root. So some small, consistent moments like that can really change a classroom culture over time.
For leaders, I would say that tomorrow's step is to make sure you have a visible structure that shows that belonging and agency are priorities. What I mean by that is take a look at your vision. Is it clear that agency, belonging, any of the other whole student practices that you want to empower in kiddos, is it clear that those are there? Is it clear why those are there? That's where I would start because you can have great tools, but if teachers and students don't understand the purpose behind them or to what end you're using it makes it harder to follow through. So getting clear yourself on like what is most important and then putting together a plan to communicate that effectively, I would say are tomorrow's step. Well, it'll probably take more than a day, but you can start tomorrow.
I love that. Thank you, Reem. So once again, thinking about what we just heard from both Holly and Reem, from that educator perspective, from the leader perspective, what is one action that you can commit to this month to strengthen belonging or elevate that student voice in your classroom? So take a moment to think. Maybe think back to some of the things you heard in the session. Maybe it even was something that really resonated in the chat that another participant shared. When you're ready, go ahead and drop in the chat. I feel like there's probably a lot of us right now popping into that resource, digging into the different resources for both agency and belonging, some of those quick hits, starting to think about those connection pieces we can pull through, even if it's just a quick conversation. All right, sounds like maybe Truth is thinking about some things on the leadership end, potentially not in the classroom. All right, well, I will definitely encourage you all to continue to think about what you really want to pull through into either your schools or your classroom as you continue on your journey of building both agency and belonging connection in your classrooms. I'm going to go ahead and move us forward to our partnerships and resources. Oh, thank you. We're getting some notes. Aurora, let me know if you want to voice over anything in here.
Yeah, thank you. We've got Caroline. I work with school leaders on school improvement initiatives generally, and I'm committed to sharing this resource with them. Thank you. Thank you, Caroline. That's what we want. That's what we want. We want to each one reach one. Is that the saying? But yes, great. So sharing this out with your leaders is important. And Truth is a former teacher. In any capacity, it's allowing a student to have a voice. Yep, you know what? I love that, Truth. Even if you're not in the classroom, there's plenty of ways to connect this idea to, I mean, if you're in a school building in any sense of the word, you know, I always say everybody is an educator, you know, from the classroom teacher to the principal to the support staff, you know, the custodians and the lunch folks. They're educators too. They're helping to build that sense of belonging as well. So great great kind of segue into some other ways that we can stay connected. So thank you for that, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a group effort. And in that vein, both Aurora and I definitely want to talk through a few of the ways that we can partner or share any specific resources to support this work. So thinking about what can we do? What can we offer you all? So I'm going to speak a bit from the gradient learning perspective before I pass it over to Aurora. So just wanted to start with this framing that I'm sure all of you are well aware of. There are so many different resources that you can go pick and choose from the internet. If you go Google how to support my students with belonging or agency or connection, you are going to get thousands upon thousands of supports. And so gradient learning really has already done the work for you of bringing everything into one cohesive place. So I shared this same slide earlier that just walks you through the different supports that we provide. So just want to dive a little bit deeper into each. So I already mentioned we provide schools currently free of charge with a whole student platform that is inclusive of HQIM, those high quality instructional materials, the pre-vetted curriculum, the student connection tools, a lot of what Holly and Reem were alluding to earlier, and I'll have a chance to show us in a bit more depth in a moment. all of the dashboard data. So it is really easy to analyze how students are performing both academically along with their life skills, and see really that full picture of the whole child. And then again, coupled with all those instructional technologies, and all supported by a direct leader coach and ongoing professional development for all of your educators and your leadership team. And so drilling a bit deeper, my cursor will work there. There we go. Drilling a bit deeper into each of these supports. So within that whole student platform that you have access to, you already will have pre-vetted high quality instructional curricula. This is just a sampling of some of the courses that we offer across all content areas, grade 4 through 12. All of this curriculum already is aligned and supports all of our whole student outcomes. So things like resilience, curiosity, purpose, self-direction, and agency happens to align very well with the topic that we just discussed today. So we were talking a lot about just this idea of we're educators, we're school leaders, we don't have time to do multiple things with our system. The intent is that you truly don't need to, and you don't have to, because everything works together. And then in that vein, here's just a quick sample of what one very minor slice of a whole student dashboard could look like. Again, combining both those academic results as well as those whole student results, so you can have a really strong sense of how a student is performing in their 8th grade science class, right against how well their whole student development is progressing in terms of their purpose or their self-direction. So you're really looking at that full picture of that child, and no longer just focusing just on the academic piece, which, I mean, we know by now, we've known for years, is simply not enough to support our students. And then moving along here, here's a quick snapshot that I shared that I would share a bit more information on, just those student connection tools. This is just another piece along with many others that you have access to in our program. And this is just to support the student connection and relationship building between that teacher and student. So it further supports that sense of belonging, and just general connection with you and your students that you're supporting. And then to close it out, all of the supports. So you're not just given a platform, you're not just given a system and expected to make it work, but you are handheld and supported the entire way with custom one-on-one leadership coaching, professional development during the summer, throughout the year, to ensure that you have everything that you need to implement the high quality curriculum, to work through your whatever vision you are setting around whole student outcomes. And then most importantly, the program works. So we have seen incredible gains in academics, both math and reading. There's some data highlighted here, as well as the increases in whole student development. So you see there's a quote here I'll read. Students who use the program reported higher persistence, self-management, and future aspirations than students who were not in the program. So to close us out here, just want to share, we are opening our applications very soon. So if you're interested, we just dropped a survey and a link to schedule some time with us to see if you might be interested in just learning a bit more about our completely grant-funded programming. So with that, going to go ahead and share some more on EALA with Aurora.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep this super quick, folks, because we've got one last poll that I want to make sure we get to. Stay connected to EALA. Most of you are already part of the EALA-verse or connected, but if you're not, or you want to bring somebody new in, know an org that would make a great partner, introduce us. I've got my email right there. I'll drop it in the chat as well. Have a free resource that's helpful to our audiences? Let us know. Email us at ealaresources@innovate.edu.nyc.org. And finally, if you want to stay informed, sign up for updates. Visit our webpage, educatingalllearners.org, and you'll see a subscribe button right at the top. Best way to stay up to date on current, on free resources and new events. And with that, let's go on to our final piece of today.
Yeah, and so to truly close this out, we would love to provide you all with additional free resources and follow-up. So go ahead and respond to our poll so that we can make sure we're able to get everything to you. And we will look forward to supporting you all in the future. But thank you all so much for joining. Feel free to hang on if you do have any questions. We're happy to answer. But please do make sure you get that poll response in so that we can follow up accordingly. But thank you all so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Holly. And thank you, Reem. Thank you so much for your insight and expertise today.
All right, thank you, thank you. I see some folks dropping off. Feel free to post in the chat if you do have any of those questions you would like us to respond to before you head out for the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Caroline. All right, folks, we'll call that a day. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you around. We'll see you out there in the EALAverse.
Thank you all.